Hello, I'm Anand Gopalakrishnan. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to create a comic book. The comic book on the screen right now is my comic book, Say No to Plastic. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so first let's talk about what exactly a comic book is. It's just a visual form of storytelling. And you've seen in all comic books, there are rectangles that represent individual scenes in the story. These are called panels. Since comic books pair images with text, we remember them better. However, before we start drawing a comic, it's important that we have an idea and a script. This script is exactly like writing a regular short story. It should have a defined beginning, middle, and end, and should also have a setting and characters. The characters in a comic book can be superheroes and supervillains, but they can also be from any other genre you like sci-fi, mystery, adventure, etc. Some memorable characters which you may have heard of are Superman, Batman, Asterix, Tintin, etc. Now let's discuss a few basic elements of a comic book. Firstly, in this picture, a square represents a panel. They represent individual scenes of the story. The space between two panels is called a gutter and a single row of panels is called a tier. Now let's talk about some elements that go inside a panel. Firstly, we have the captions. These give background information about the scene and they go in the corner of a panel. Next, we have the speech bubbles, which tell what the characters are saying. And finally, we have the thought bubble, which tells what the characters are thinking. So here are the 5 easy steps for how to make a comic. First, think of a short story idea which works as a set of drawings. It should be interesting and you should remember your target audience. Secondly, you need a plot. It should have more dialogue and less descriptions and narrations. You want your pictures to do most of the talking. A quick note here. Before you start drawing your comic book, make sure you have done steps 1 and 2. Third, write a brief description or profile about your characters before you start drawing. This will help you to understand who your characters are. Now the fun part. Step 4. Draw your comic book. Include all the elements. And 5. Add color. If you've completed all of these 5 steps, you have a great comic with you. And now you can share it with everyone. And now let's talk about my comic book, Say No to Plastic. So I went for the Nord Anglia Global Campus Comic Book Challenge 2019 to 2020. We had to make a comic book based on an article from the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, the UNCRC, and our comic should also include an inspirational quote. So in 2019, we had won the Oak Code Fest for our game Guardians of the Ocean. We had made this game to raise awareness about marine plastic pollution. Oakridge International School has also encouraged students to stop the use of single-use plastics to attain SDG 11 Sustainable Cities and Communities. This encouraged me to create a hero, eco-friendly man, and a villain, Plastic Man, and it also gave me the name for my comic, Say No to Plastic. Here in the first picture, we are presenting our game Guardians of the Ocean to the students of our school to raise awareness about stopping marine plastic pollution. And in the second picture, we are receiving the trophy for the Oak Code Fest 2019. So children under the Article 24 of the UNCRC are entitled to a clean environment. If we want to stop plastic pollution, we must look within ourselves. This is reflected by the inspirational quote I gave in my comic. Be the change you want to see in the world by Mahatma Gandhi. So I won the Nord Anglia Global Campus Comic Book Competition 2019 to 2020 in my age category. My comic was appreciated by the judge Mr. Gavin Ong Tan and the illustrator Mr. James Foley. Also, Mr. James Foley illustrated the winning comics including mine. So on the left, you can see a picture of my comic as it is seen on the Nord Anglia Global Campus site, and on the right, you can see a picture of Mr. James Foley's illustration of my comic. And that's all for today. Don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe.